Good evening. This week's parsha is Parshat Vayera. This Dvar Torah is based off of a Dvar Torah by Rav David Silverberg from Yeshivat Har Etzion. So in the Psukim, in Parshat Vayera, Perek Zayin, the Psukim read, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe vel Aaron lemor, Ki daber lechem paro lemor, Tnu lechem mofet, V'armatar al Aaron, Kach et matcha v'ashlech lifnei paro yihi letanin. So Hashem said to Moshe and Aaron, when Paro speaks to you, saying, provide a wonder for yourselves, you shall say to Aaron, take your staff and cast it down before Paro. It will become a snake. ויבוא משה ואהרון על פרעה ויעשו כן, כאשר ציווה אדוני וישלח אהרון את מטהו לפני פרעה ולפני עבדיו ויהי לתנין. And they do this, and it becomes a serpent, a snake. ויקרא גם פרעה לחכמים ולמכשפים, ויעשו גם הם. חרטומי מצרים ולעתם כן. The magicians then do the same thing. וישליחו איש מטהו ויהיו לתנינים, ויבלע מטה אהרון את מטותם. And they do the same thing. And then Aaron's mate then goes and swallows the mate of these magicians. And it continues to say that Paro hardened his heart and he didn't listen to them. So what's interesting here is that after they did this, straight out miracle to prove that Aaron and Moshe were really the messengers of Hashem, Paro didn't really, pay too much attention to this. He didn't really think it was a big deal that they were what they were doing. And the Gemara in Menachot notes that two of Paro's magicians, after this happened, turned to Moshe and said cynically, Teven ata machnis la'Afaraim? Are you bringing straw to Afaraim? Now apparently Afaraim was a city full of straw, surplus of straw. And what these magicians were saying, are you really going to bring straw into a city that's full of straw? Kind of like saying, are you really going to bring magic into a city, a country that's full of magic? Egypt was known for having magicians and sorcerers and witchcraft, and they were mocking Moshe and saying, Egypt is a center of witchcraft and magic. You really think that you're going to bring something new? This is just magic like we all do. So what I think Chazal is saying here is that the magicians, they didn't think that what Moshe and Aaron were doing were much different than what they were doing. They just thought it was the regular stuff they were all doing, and that's why they didn't pay too much attention. But really, in truth, Moshe and Aaron were doing something that was commanded to them by Hashem, and it was a miracle, and it was different than the regular things that they were doing all the time. But they weren't able to see that. They just saw it as regular and, the same as they were doing. Now, in contrast, later in Sefer Shemot, we have the story of Yitro. And in Parshat Yitro, Perek Yericho, the Psukim read. This is talking about after Yitro finally, comes to Judaism, comes to learning about Hashem. He had worshipped every perceived deity in the world, and he finally says, "Ata yadati, now I know, ki gadol Adonai mikol ha'elohim. I know that Hashem is greater than all other gods. Ki badavar asher zadu alehem." And he says that, now I know that Hashem is greater than all other gods, for in the very manner in which the Egyptians had conspired against them. Now Yitro was different than the magicians in Egypt. He recognized that Yad Hashem was different than what everybody was doing in Egypt. And he had worshipped every other, perceived avodah zarah in the world, and he really was able to recognize the truth. And you can see a very big difference in somebody that comes to be a believer of Hashem and recognize that Hashem's miracles really are different. And sometimes we have to open our eyes and see that, things aren't always just the regular. There is Yad Hashem in this world, and as long as we open our eyes, we'll see it.